What is good? Fuck, good. Everyone. Shoobs here. This is so scuffed.
Creampaca.
Dad's gonna help you learn how to be a man. Real men have a couple of beers and then project their inadequacies on their kids.
Okay.
What's that? You think you're better than me?
What? No, I didn't say that.
So I guess you think you would have been some kind of big shot by my age, huh? Done things differently? Gotten that promotion?
I don't even know what you do.
Well, let me tell you something. You're nothing. And you're never gonna be nothing. Now, let's sit here and watch Spike TV.
Spike TV, full of stuff men like. Yeah, that stuff.
What is good, everyone? Shoobs here. Today we'll be taking a look at these switches and the byproducts of its soul. Lubed Creams, known as the Tifu switches, have attained a status of notoriety. Many stand by them, but many consider them as a pretty subpar switch. They are expensive to boot. What the fuck? They are expensive to boot, and compared to any other popular linears in the market, they're just plain old scratchy. Honestly, I don't know what they did to these. They sound pretty damn good in my opinion, but with a name like Creams, you would expect them to be a buttery experience. But these shits are just scratchy as all hell. It's like the factory just sprinkles in some sand inside a housing just to fuck with you. With all this considered, although it's obviously preference on what you like, as a standalone switch, in my opinion, there's nothing really too special about this switch. It's noticeably a deep sound signature and a standard push feel, but there are other switches like it in the market, but with much better smoothness. But there lies some real gold inside the scratch encrusted shell. As the tears of the smoothness chasers mix in with the sandy deposits within these creams, it forms the mother of pearl of stems. Oh yeah. The NK cream stems are something else. They are long, they're smooth, and when thrown into the mix of frankenswitching, they honestly provide an experience that I've not been able to replicate in terms of sound and feel before. The most popular of the cream stem users are the Creampacas, Creamsicles, and Black Cherry Pies. The Creampacas are made with the housing of a Alpaca or any standard JWK housing with a PC top and nylon bottom, with the stem replaced with a cream. The Creamsicles are made with tangerines, which is full umwipe, that is UHMWPE, with a cream stem. Now, the most expensive of these switches are these Black Cherry Pies, which is made of a nylon bottom from a JWK switch, the top of a cherry switch, and finally the cream stem. There's literally a crazy number of different frankenswitch recipes, but the general consensus that we can take away is that throwing these bitches in something automatically makes it sorta damn good. So that's all fine and dandy, but the problem we have with doing these frankenswitches is something that many are deterred by, and that is none other than the price. Yes, the money, the moolah, the bread, and most importantly, the guap. This shit is fucking expensive. Coming in at around 65 cents per switch for the creams, you're going to be looking at frankenswitches that all cost over $1.20 per switch. That means if you want to build a 65%, you'll be looking to spend at least $84 just on the switches. If you plan on making a TK hell, then may God have mercy on that wallet, because it's gonna fucking die. Is that money worth it? For a long while I thought it was. I was spending fat checks on creams just to harvest the stems. The Creampacas, Creamsicles, and Black Cherry Pies are probably some of my favorite switches of all time. The cream stem inside of a JWK housing creates a very distinct bottom-out feel with a super short travel distance due to the longer pole of the cream stem and the bottom being more fit for a standard length. It creates a very audible, clacky thunk, and as a person that enjoys ramming my switches like a damn madman, I love that feel. The closest non-Franken switch that has come to replicate the feeling would be the Palm Durocks. However, it is not the same in my opinion. I don't know, but it's just not the same, man. That might just be my brain talking because I spent so much money on cream stems, but you know. But there has been word on the street that 2 Kailh stems that are more than half the price of the creams could actually work as a 99% similar alternative. And when I heard this shit, I had to try it out for myself. Yes, sir. These Kailh Black and Kailh Red stems have been said to be a very good alternative at a fraction of the price of around 25 cents per switch compared to the 65 cents per switch of the creams. So let's take a look. So looking at the stems of the Kailh Blacks and Reds, I am extremely surprised at how similar they are to the creams. Upon super close observation, I do think they're not a 100% exact copy, but they're pretty damn close. They both feature a almost identical stem hole length as well as shape, and the bump seems to be super close as well. The Palm Durocks I mentioned before fall slightly shorter in terms of length and is in a very different type of shape for the end of the pole compared to the Kailh Blacks, Reds, and Creams. So for the sake of research, we'll be trying out each of the stems both stock and lubed and filmed second. The testing will be done in the Z position as always, as the position of the switch on your case affects the sound heavily. Just be mindful that this is not a 100% accurate representation of the switches and sound, as everyone's case, plate, room acoustics, and lubing technique is different. For my case, I'm using the Mode 80 with aluminum plate, all gaskets installed, and for the lube and film, I'm using Krytox 205 Gray Zero and GPL 105 for the springs with deskies. Okay, so what is the consensus? I gotta say that these stems are probably around 95% similar to the cream stems in terms of sound and feel. There are slight variations, but I think that's just me being too nitpicky, and when using them on a full board, I'm pretty confident that no one will notice a difference. However, as you might have noticed, I also threw in the palm Durock stems for experimentation as well, since they were also a fairly long boy. These palm Durock stems are actually a secret unknown material and was different from the palm stems of the creams, blacks and reds. Something interesting that I noticed was these stems were by far the smoothest and was also added a little bit more clack to the sound. The feel of the switch was a little different, however, as there was a tiny bit more amount of travel, as the palm Durock stems were slightly shorter in length than the black, red, and cream stems. This is just a theory, but I think that these palm stems these aren't palm stems, the palm Durock stems might have some unwipe properties in there from what I can see, but that's just a theory. A game theory. So in terms of smoothness, from buttery smooth to Pringles chip scratchy, the tangerines with the palm Durock stems were by far the smoothest. The alpacas with the palm Durock stems were the second, and the creamsicle variations were a third. The black cherry pies with the palm Durock stems were right below the creamsicles, and then the Creampacas, and then the normal black cherry pies. In terms of the stems affecting smoothness, I didn't really notice too much of a difference between the black, red, and cream stems, but as I mentioned before, the palm Durock stems definitely made the switch a lot smoother. And none of them were actually very close. They were way more smooth than the NK Creams, which still stands at the very top of the scratch food chain. In terms of the cost of building these frankenswitches, these palm Durock black cherry pies will run you around $1.65 per switch. The normal cream black cherry pies are around $1.60. The palm Durock creamsicles around $1.35. The Kailh cherry pies around $1.30. Normal creamsicles around $1.30. The palm Durock alpacas around $1.25. Creampacas around $1.20. The Kailh creamsicles are around $1, and the Kailh Creampacas around 90 cents. So what do I think? Hell fucking yeah, I will always be going for the Kailh Black or the Kailh Red stems going forward with building any of my black cherry pies, creamsicles, and creampacas. The cream stems just isn't worth it. But what I found very surprising was the palm Durock stems were actually a pretty interesting switch as well, and although it is even more expensive than the cream stems, I think there is a bit more potential of trying out a new formula that I haven't actually felt before. All in all, I think my stance now is that if you're in the boat to try making the popular frankenswitches with cream stems, just go for the cheaper alternative Kailh Black or Kailh Red and save some cash. In my opinion, there is very little difference, and at nearly half the cost, it's a no-brainer. Anyways guys, thank you so much for watching the entire video. I hope it helped a little bit on your expensive quest in building frankenswitches. Thank you again for the crazy support. More videos on the way soon, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.